afternoon and welcome to the Politics Show here in the Midlands. Today we're taking a special look at the threats to close some of our region's schools. In the Shires, do falling pupil numbers mean that closures are inevitable?
And join me live at a school in Stoke-on-Trent, where pupils and parents are protesting today against the biggest educational shake-up our region has ever seen.
Now, this morning, hundreds of parents have been marching through Stoke-on-Trent in protest against the planned closure of one of the city's main high schools. It's part of the shake-up of secondary education there, billed as the biggest our region has ever seen. Well, our political editor, Patrick Burns, joins us from one of the schools where feelings are running extremely high. Patrick, what's the latest?
Sarah, welcome to St Joseph's College at Trent Vale. It's Stoke's top performing school, and it had been hoping to form a federation with a community school just down the road, Trentham High. Problem is, that school is now scheduled for closure under this radical revamp. Well, you can see what the pupils and parents at Trentham think of that. They're absolutely furious. They're protesting today. They're promising a very intense campaign. They're consulting their lawyers, they're lobbying, and they're really going to make their presence felt, they say. Now, interestingly, that vision of a federation is shared by the people here at St Joseph's College itself.
Well, they're obviously very angry about it, Patrick, but what exactly is the reorganisation supposed to achieve?
In a nutshell, Sarah, fewer schools but better. School numbers are falling here as everywhere else. So the idea is that you decide which schools you're going to either merge or close and then invest in the ones that survive. With some truly rotten school buildings and an exam league table position third bottom of the national pile, Stoke-on-Trent secondary schools are crying out for investment. But where from? Answer? BSF, Building Schools for the Future. It's the government's scheme for rebuilding or refurbishing every school building that needs it by the year 2020. Now, the council here say that it's worth £200 million to Stoke. But when your school's facing the axe, it's hard to see any positive gloss. Here at Trentham High School, they've been told the school is to close in 2011. Elsewhere around the city, 8 other schools will merge to form 5 academies, reducing the overall total of 17 secondary schools around the city now to 13. This despite Trentham's transformation in special measures 2 years ago, now predicting officially outstanding exam results, their best ever.
It's a real slap in the face because the staff and the pupils and the parents and the governors have all worked in one direction, really very focused and very hard. And to not be allowed to see this through, to regain the position of Trentham in Stoke-on-Trent as one of the top performing schools, I think is a travesty.
We are an amazing school. We've got the best teachers I can think of. We've got, the best support, we've got the best leadership, and I think the pupils here really enjoy coming to school.
I've got 2 small brothers who just live a short distance away, and they're coming up next year, and the school was to be revamped and moved to a different site. It'd be very difficult for them as there is a very busy road and a lot of unnecessary accidents could happen.
Their would-be federation partners at St Joseph's share Trentham's frustration. One of 160 remaining selective state schools, they'd hoped to share their expertise and best practice with Trentham. Then, of course, there's that BSF money, or rather, there isn't.
We've been told that we will get little or no investment because we're so high achieving, because we're already doing such a wonderful job here that we don't need new buildings. But as you can see, we've got some terrible buildings here. And the DFES in the old days did a needs analysis of this school, and we've got buildings here for 720 students, and we've already got 950. So it's ridiculous that we don't need new buildings.
The irony is the buildings here do appear in a far worse state than Trentham's, which are due for closure.
These are the boys' showers, which the girls have to get changed in for PE, and it's not very pleasant. And next door through there are the boys' toilets, and we can smell, obviously, things, and it's all grungy.
It's really, really run down and needs refurbishing and replaced and updating.
It's not really fair that other people in other schools have such good facilities and we're being sort of penalised for doing well at this school.
The conditions are at worst appalling in classrooms, where they're okay, but they are substandard really. It's quite cramped, but in the given conditions we do manage to achieve our potential.
Two different schools together in common cause. So far from ending the debate, the big storm over this controversial transformation plan has only just begun. Well, welcome back live to St Joseph's College, to these not so mobile-looking mobile classrooms. You can understand why they feel here that they get these absolutely terrific results despite the facilities, rather than because of them. I'm joined by the Chair of Governors here, Mike Phelan, and by the man driving this whole reorganisation, the directly elected Mayor of Stoke, Mark Meredith. Mayor Meredith, how can you stand in this room and say that St Joseph's College just doesn't need better buildings?
Well, we're not saying that. What we're saying is St Joseph's need better buildings, and so do many other schools in Stoke-on-Trent, and that's precisely what we'll deliver during the course of the next few years.
So what are you worried about, Mike?
Because the report that they're due to publish this week says that investment in St Joseph's is not an option. They don't need it. They're a high-performing school, and it will not improve students' outcomes.
I have to say, Mark, the buildings here do look a lot worse to me than those at Trentham, which are due to close.
Well, I just want to reassure your viewers today that we are planning to invest in St Joseph's. We're prepared to work with the college. We're prepared to work with the Learning and Skills Council, who are one of the funding bodies, to ensure that we do get investment in St Joseph's College. But at the same time, we've got crumbling buildings all around the city, as you've previously reported. And what we want to do is spend the money where the most need is, first and foremost. So we need to get on with building our new schools, so that the people in schools that are presently going to close can move into brand new buildings. Schools that need to be modernised. We need schools fit for the 21st century, and every student needs to benefit from this investment.
And yet, you know, you talk about transformation. They've achieved a transformation at Trentham, and then, as Sue Chesterton says, you slap them in the face and say you're going to close down.
Well, of course, Sue knows, like many others know, that the reason why we need to close some schools is that we've got falling numbers of pupils. Also, of course, many people have said during the consultation that you can have excellent performance in actually quite poor buildings, and we actually agree with that. But what we need is excellent performance in excellent buildings.
Mike, you can see the general case that with falling numbers and the chronic dilapidation around the city as a whole, you know, the status quo is not an option, is it?
It certainly isn't an option, and we, in our discussions with Mark Meredith and Jed Rowney, we certainly agree that transformation is needed.
He does make the point that you can achieve great results even in buildings which may not actually win a design award.
Yes, we can, and we do, because we care for our children, and we provide them with the sort of education that will achieve that sort of result. But we do need the building. Our plan is to expand our sixth form, and that has been agreed with the local authority and the Learning and Skills Council.
Mark, you know, the debate is still open, is it, or is the die cast in a nutshell?
No, absolutely not. As we've said, we will work with the Learning and Skills Council and St Joseph's College to make sure that they get the investment, but we need to put the investment in the areas that need it the most first, and that's what we need to do over the course of the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, my thanks to you. Very briefly, one word, quickly.
Is it going to be now, or is it 2014?
Big decision on Tuesday. That's when the council has to sit down and make their decision. The next stage in this campaign is where up to 400 protesters on Tuesday say they will gather outside the Civic Centre to make their presence felt. With that, Sarah, back to you.
Thanks very much, Patrick. Now, earlier we asked you to get in touch on the issue of school closures, and my word, you have indeed. Here's a taste of them. Linda Moyes from Stoke-on-Trent says, how can we justify closing all these schools when there's such a high birth rate amongst the immigrants?